Oh, hey, we're getting unwhelmed. Welcome to Free Friday Unwhelminar. Whoop whoop. I'm so happy to see such a fabulous group in the room with us today. We have a lot to cover. This is one of my favorite subjects, so I will try to stay on track. I've made myself a very large page of notes, hoping that that would keep me a little more contained. But I get really excited about strategic planning. It's where I go like, I don't know, like 9.7 nerd. It's not quite as nerdy as I get about spreadsheets, but it's real close. So I want to just tell you that if you are here thinking strategic planning, what? Or if you're going, what the hell even is strategic planning? Then you're in the right place. Yay. So let me just bring us into the room as we do in Unwhelminar. So welcome to our free Friday Unwhelminar, which is a free 1-hour webinar every week by badass business women who share their expertise and experience and the wonderful wisdom gained from their successes and mistakes, all free for you. Yay! As usual, this Unwhelminar is brought to you by Unwhelm Coaching. We're here to unwhelm the overwhelm of business by co-creating solutions that turn women's ideas into reality, because we believe that you deserve more time, more money, and more joy. We work toward a world where all women have emotional, financial, and technical support to realize their business dreams. We value honesty, empowerment, collaboration, vulnerability, women supporting women, and fun. Spoiler alert, what you just heard is the Unwhelm Coaching strategic plan and statement. Today we're going to talk about what the hell is strategic planning. Do you need it? Why? We're going to talk about traditional strategic planning in a masculine economy and an alternative to that, which is a feminist economy, and why that's important, especially for women-led or women-owned businesses. And then we'll talk about what the hell do I do next? I would like to remind you of our norms for Unwhelminars, and that is a couple of things. If you're here in the meeting and you're participating, this is a place where we can share ideas without shame, without recrimination. So we're all on our best behavior, ha ha ha, assuming best intent. And this is a place where women can be and feel supported. If you are on camera and you decide to do something really distracting, like do a headstand or remove various articles of clothing for whatever reason, or do an interpretive dance, we do ask you to turn your camera off unless you have been specifically asked to do one of those things or something else. If you're doing something that's loud, or if you have not been specifically asked to unmute, or you're not contributing with a question or a comment, we do ask that you keep your microphones muted. If you're joining us on Facebook Live, welcome. If you want to participate in the discussion, you are welcome at any point to hop into the room. We have wonderful folks monitoring the attendance and chat, so you can go to unwhelmcoaching.com and you can register and it will pop you right into the room. Luckily, we have Jen here who will be policing the chat. I'm kidding. I mean, she's just going to be reading it. And she will also be monitoring Facebook comments because she can multitask, which is fantastic for me. So if you have questions, comments, and you want to participate, pop your questions or comments in the Facebook Live, or if you're here with us live, just raise your hand or somehow get our attention and we will be happy to have a conversation. So at any point you can stop me in my fire hose of information and you can ask questions, clarification, and of course I welcome pushback. With that, I would like everyone to take a moment with me to just get centered and be here now. Find a comfortable position, preferably with your feet on the floor and your booty on a surface. If you're laying down, that's fine. If you're levitating, good on you. But if you're not, find a comfortable place and a comfortable position for your body. Take a big, deep breath with me and let it out. Move your body and your joints, your back. Wiggle your booty, wiggle your toes, stretch your fingers. And when you're ready, if you're comfortable, close your eyes. And if you'd rather, you can direct your gaze to someplace softly in the room. I will share a beautiful photograph of a New Mexico sunset so that you can have someplace nice to rest your eyes. I would love for you to take another big breath in through your nose, gently and slowly. Fill your lungs. Feel the breath all the way to your diaphragm. Hold it and release it on a sigh. Again, slowly, fully in through your nose. Hold and release on a sigh. Let your breathing return to normal. And take a quick scan of your body, just noticing. You don't have to take any action right now. We are simply observing. Start at the top of your head and notice any areas of tension. Is your brow furrowed? Is your jaw clenched? Is your tongue smashed up into your mouth? Are your shoulders tight? Is your low back stiff or your feet tight? On the next inhale and exhale, just make an attempt to loosen anything that feels tense or tight. I'd like you to place one hand over your heart center and focus on the sensation of the pressure of your hand on your chest, the beating of your heart, the inhale and exhale. I welcome at any point today that you feel the need to recenter. Welcome you to place your hand in this spot and focus on your breath and on sensation. We welcome all women, all energy, all emotion here. And know that you can center and be welcome at any time. And with that, one more big breath in through your nose and out. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and join us back in the room. Thank you. Before I begin unleashing my massive amount of joy and excitement over strategic planning, I just want to ask if anyone in the room wants to pop an answer in chat or unmute and tell me, what do you think strategic planning means, or why do we do it? This is where I take a sip of coffee and a breath. Perfect. Sarah says, we do it because we need to stay on track and because it's fun. That's my girl. She's a girl after my own heart. Absolutely. Accountability, for sure. To plan your goals and develop a roadmap to get there. Absolutely. Yeah. Also, I'm going to jump in here and tell you that the reason I love strategic planning so much is because for me and for the people that I work with, it's a place to dream wildly. Your goals and your vision and your mission and your values are a place where you can marry your heart and soul and inspiration to your everyday activities. It is a place to dream big with zero limitations, and then to bring all of that fantastic, exciting information down to an action plan. My friend Catherine says strategic planning is because we have an OCD need to plan everything. I'm not saying that she's wrong or that she doesn't know me. She's right and she knows me. But it is certainly satisfying and comforting to those of us who do feel a lot of comfort from control. Sarah says, what it is, checking in that your trajectory is in line with your goals. Yes, actually, are you actually doing something to grow your business or getting caught up in busy work and procrastinating? That's fantastic. Very good input here. All of that is true and more. So sorry, I'm clicking around trying to stay on track with my notes because otherwise we will be here for a couple of hours and then people will be like, she just never stops talking. I'm not saying that doesn't happen already, but let's try to keep it under a little bit more control. Strategic planning is a blueprint for your business. It is at the heart of it. What are you going to do? Why and for whom? It's what you'll measure to prove that you're actually doing it. It's a way to make sure that you know how to allocate your resources, time, money, energy, humans, raw materials, whatever your resources are. Your strategic plan will give you a guide for how to allocate those resources to get the job done. I believe it's more art than science. And ideally, it incorporates a circular rather than a linear path of planning and growth. My ideal strategic planning process, particularly with more than one person in a group or a corporation or a nonprofit organization, is evaluate, listen, consider, plan, execute, and then start it over. Evaluate, listen, consider, plan. For those of you who are familiar with the Unwhelming 7-step process, this might sound very familiar. So no surprise here, we follow the same kind of process in strategic planning that we do in overall Unwhelming anything. It's important to note that often people think of mission, vision, and values, your strategic statements, as a very static and final kind of thing. Some corporations even write it once and then just leave it alone, and they may not reevaluate it or visit it for years. My opinion is that when you are new in your business, you should be evaluating your strategic plan against your daily activities monthly. In your second year of business, it should be quarterly. And after that, you should be reevaluating and aligning those activities quarterly and every 6 months with a larger group. If your vision, mission, values, and goals don't match your everyday activities, then you need to change one or the other or both. So that is to say that what you value and what your company focuses on is what you're doing every single day. So I have said this before and it makes people cringe, and often I get some pretty intense reactions to this statement. What you are doing every day is what you value. What you do every day with your time, how you allocate your time and resources, is what you value. So the example I give is, if you spend most of your day answering bullshit emails, then what you value is answering bullshit emails. Ouch. Annalise is like, yeah. If you spend your day worrying about, as Sarah calls it, procrastinating. If you spend your day in Canva, lost in everything else, making wonderful things to go on social media, then what you evaluate is spending your time on graphic design and social media. If that's your business, more power to you. If your business is something else, might want to evaluate that. A couple of other people are like, I feel called out. Thanks, Sarah. Shout out to Denise Duffield Thomas, one of our favorite strategic planners. She's a financial magician. She calls it procrastinating. I really love that. I have never gotten really involved with making sure that the colors in a flyer are exactly right, and spent hours doing that instead of managing contacts. That's not true. I have absolutely done it. So do you need strategic planning? I mean, can you be successful without it? Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can have a wildly successful business and never articulate for the public or for your stakeholders what your mission is and what your values and vision are, because it's possible that you're simply doing that every day, and your everyday actions and the way that you run your business and what you do, those may be really clear illustrations, and you may not feel you need an articulate strategic plan. It's happened. You could also just have a happy accident where the needs of the market and what you have to offer really match, and you just kind of fall into success. That could happen too. You can also fail majestically with a brilliant strategic plan. For instance, Enron, at the time of their collapse, had on their boardroom wall in massive letters their values. At the time of the Enron collapse, and let's just review that Enron stands for, and please feel free to correct me if you disagree: greed, embezzlement, fraud, theft, the worst of humanity. But their values, stated and written out, were integrity, communication, respect, and excellence. So you cannot have a plan and succeed wildly. You can have a plan and fail wildly. The reason that it's really important, in my opinion, especially for women-led businesses, groups, organizations, corporations, self-run, self-owned women, self-owned businesses, sole proprietors, the reason it's really important for a woman to have a strategic plan, even if you don't have a business but want a personal strategic plan, is because if you want to embrace a feminist business model, we'll talk about that in a bit, but if that's what you want, then you'll need to focus your strategic plan so that you can create and guide a self-fulfilling, heart-centered, meaningful, soul-feeding business. And isn't that what we want? I want to talk about capitalism. I would like to thank Sarah for offering us up a goal, and that is to win capitalism. We talk about capitalism. Yes, woohoo! We talk about capitalism. Capitalism is the big lie of the free market. So it says that if you work hard, you'll get ahead. If you invest a little, you'll get a lot of return. And that is true for a small portion of our population. Capitalism is a system, an economic system in which we operate. It is not a particular corporation or a manager or owner or board of directors out to screw a specific employee. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a system of formal and informal structures. That means regulations, laws, norms, ways that we do business that we don't even think about, but are the accepted way of doing business. And these are a system, creates a system that rewards very specific actions and benefits specific groups over others. So for instance, well, first of all, I just want to clarify, don't at me with like, not all businesses are bad or capitalism works for some people, because that's like the not all men or not all cops argument. I'm not talking about individual corporations or people. I'm talking about the system. So we have a growing number of B Corps, which are socially, environmentally responsible, vetted. That's great. I think Ben and Jerry's, I think there are some other really amazing examples. The thing is that if we didn't have a very specific benchmark, these B Corps and other socially responsible organizations wouldn't stand out because they wouldn't be outside the norm. We know about them because they're not doing business as usual. The capitalism, aggressive late stage capitalism, which is where we are now, requires two things and two things only: perpetual growth and profit. It requires those two things to exist, and it rewards those two things above all else. It rewards men over women, white people over people of color, colonizers over indigenous people, especially imperial colonizers who seek to eradicate entire peoples, communities, or lands. It values abled over disabled, cisgender heterosexual over LGBTQIA plus individuals. And there are any other number of ways in which the system of capitalism rewards a group over another group. Excuse me, if you are, therefore, a woman, you're going to have a harder time. We're operating in a system that is not only not designed to reward you, but it is designed to prevent your success in order to reward the group of individuals and people who do thrive within that system. I'd be happy to spend 17 or 20 hours talking about this particular sociological lesson, but I will move on a little bit. I get a little bit excited about this. So the system of late stage aggressive capitalism values profit and growth above all else at any cost. That means capitalism does not care about safety, personnel, doesn't care about humans, doesn't care about your life-work balance, and it certainly doesn't care about the planet. And there are a gajillion examples of why this is so and how it works. Just look around at pollution, at profits, at wealth inequities, blah, 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 end rant. I want to note that nonprofits also use this model of strategic planning based on traditional business strategic planning in corporations, but they do so with an assumption that people who work within the nonprofit system should follow all those same rules, but without regard to financial gain, personal or for the organization. There's a great book on this called Uncharitable: How Restraints on Nonprofits Undermine Their Potential, Civil Society, Historical and Contemporary Perspectives, blah, blah, blah. Just look up Uncharitable by Dan Pallotta. It's a fascinating look at how that particular phenomenon of assuming nonprofits should not be driven by anything other than service. It's no wonder, if we consider all of that, why people hate it. Above all, in a late stage aggressive capitalist system, if you think about Enron as this shining example of what that looks like, strategic planning becomes untrustworthy. It becomes disingenuous. It becomes helpless and hopeless for anybody who's not in power. So I asked folks before we met today, what do you hate about strategic planning? And boy, that was sometimes when I ask a question of my focus groups, I get a little slow response, or sometimes crickets, or sometimes people think about it. But boy, howdy, this really struck a nerve. So here were some of the things people talked about. Strategic planning is hard because it can't balance my need to wiggle with my need to focus. It requires so much brainwidth. There's too much pressure. It becomes one more way to fail. I have an inner rebel who hates being told what to do, even if it's my own idea. Some other ways that strategic planning has sucked for people in the past: setting goals that are too general, deciding on a small number of goals when you have the heart to do so much more, or you think you do, that there's no room for the divine order of things or to completely change the plan based on divine intervention or new opportunities or something that's completely different, that once it's there, it's set in stone, it's too rigid. That there's a lot of pressure. It's hard to predict the unknown, that corporate strategy to steal ideas is at the heart of it. It's not always inclusive of staff, the people that do the frontline work who know what's needed. It tends to be expansive and grandiose rather than a guidance. The people who are doing the boots on the ground people, the folks who are actually putting the work in to enact and deliver on mission, don't have a seat at the table, and they don't have any buy-in. So key stakeholders are left out of the process. It's too much stuff without guidance. There's too much overreach. There's no follow-up for measures of success. It tends to be led top down versus bottom up. Anybody seeing a theme here? And this is one that I really enjoyed. It feels to me like it takes an unbearable amount of effort, and I would rather just wing it and see what happens. I really appreciate all of this. So this is the point where I'm going to take another breath and ask a couple of questions of all of you. Is there anything we missed in there that you have participated in strategic planning in the past that made you crazy or that felt like a disconnect internally for you? Or if you have not embraced strategic planning in the past, what kind of scares you about it? While you're thinking, and you can either pop into chat or raise your hand, I just want to tell you that I personally had this just intense experience where I was part of a volunteer group and we were doing strategic planning and we didn't know each other very well. So the people who were leading the strategic planning had us do some team building exercises before we jumped in. Anybody else just shudder at the thought of team building exercises? We had to do things like tie shoes in knots and then try to untie them and find our own shoes. We had to lift hula hoops with two. A lot of them may have been really great activities, but what it felt like was a complete disconnect from what we actually did, which was figure out how to get people to an event. There was just no real emotional connection. And so it felt really forced and stilted. And as a result, that organization's strategic plan looked great on paper and had very little buy-in. So if your experience with strategic planning has been like that, and it's usually like a retreat or 2-day long process, then it doesn't become a part of your everyday life and your business. And it feels like there's a waste of time. This is me taking a breath. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee and open the floor to comments or questions. All right, lively group. Nobody says anything. Crickets, we're good. All right. I do have a tendency to get a little excited and go on and on about this without breathing. So I do want to just, I'm just going to give myself a little pat on the back for allowing some space in the conversation. This is where it gets really good, y'all. I'm super excited about this. I want to talk now about the opposite of or an alternative to traditional male-led masculine economy. But I want to share with you, I'm going to pop this link in chat. The amazing Jennifer Armbrust wrote a blog that became a book. It's called Proposals for the Feminine Economy. Click the link, go buy the book and the companion book, Birthing a Business. Sorry, I probably have said that wrong. Please hold. The Business Birthing Handbook. And I know that my friend Annalise will appreciate this because she's a trained doula. And so the idea of thinking about her business as a process of birthing would probably be quite appealing. This shit is good, y'all. I want to talk first about what she calls the masculine economy and what the masculine economy embraces. So please hold while I bring this up. I'm going to share my screen. So for those of you who aren't in the meeting, you can watch the replay or just check out the link on the website. Please hold while I access this information. Thanks ever so much. Are you seeing the cute little arrows now? Yes. Oh gosh. Someday I will not be a Zoom nerd who goes, can you see my screen? Can you hear me now? Is it working? That's a lie. I probably won't, but I'll probably have an entire team of tech gurus and I'll still ask that. Small aside, I was on a really terrible unscripted television show once, and the producer very specifically said, do not talk to the cameramen or the sound guys. And every single time I got mic'd up, I would go, can you hear me? Are you getting this? So I think it's pretty clear that I'm never going to stop going, is this on? Thanks. I will be taking questions about that later. But welcome to the existing model of late stage aggressive capitalism, aka the masculine economy. I'm going to lightning quick run through just some of the highlights here, and tell me if this resonates. In a masculine economy, there is a scarcity consciousness. It means there's just not enough for everyone, and so only a few people have to have a lot, and you have to scrabble for what you've got. Perpetual consumption, which is linear growth. Ego, oh my God, and the myth of meritocracy, that you only get paid when you earn it or deserve it. And I would argue that that is also true of time, that you only are allowed time for yourself if you are on the verge or over the edge of burnout, that we are not allowed to take time until that point. Profit worship, vilification of poverty, inequitable distribution of wealth, domination of people and nature, stoicism. We don't feel in business. There is no crying in business. If you're a woman in business, there's a fuck ton of crying in business. Can I get an amen? Competition, individualism, speed and growth, non-accountability. These are all characteristics of a masculine economy. And if you have tried to start a business, then you know that this exists. If you have been in a leadership position, then you know that this exists. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring your attention to the feminine economy. This shit gets me fired up. This is why I'm in business. In a feminine economy, we are challenged to do two things. We redefine what means success. We choose different measures of success, which is fucking brilliant. We decide what means we're doing well as a business. The other thing that I would say we are challenged to do is to do all of this and still win capitalism. That's right. We can be nice and rich. I know you don't believe me. Oh yeah, girls. Oh yeah. I want to draw attention to some of my favorite pieces of the feminine economy model: collaboration, interdependence. When my clients from Unwhelm Coaching are doing well, I can hardly sit still with the joy. It makes me so goddamn happy for my clients to succeed. In a masculine economy, there's no room for both of us. In a feminine economy, there is room for all of us. One of my favorite sayings is, a rising tide lifts all boats. When I'm doing well, it means that the people around me can do well also. Intimacy. Oh my God, we get to actually talk about feelings and know one another while we're running a business? Hell yes. Generosity, honesty, empathy, care, mindfulness, gratitude, cyclical growth. I cannot tell you enough how freaking excited I was when my friend Lisa Rimondi of A Layered Approach said, your business sounds a lot like this. It was like I suddenly had a light bulb come on and I had words and pictures for all the ways that I had been already building my business. These resources will be available as a link on my website. I want to give full credit to Jennifer Armbrust and Sister, as well as her publishing company, which is called Feminism is the Fourth Wave. Please let me make sure I have that. It's just called The Fourth Wave. The Fourth Wave is feminine.com. Please check it out. I want to talk about, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen because this particular piece of information is really great and I have it tacked up on my wall. This is, thank you so much for your patience. Here are 12 principles for prototyping a feminist business. And if you are a business person or considering going into business or have been in business or lead a business, or if you're in a nonprofit or leading a nonprofit, blah, 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 blah. If you're a chick and you're in the economy, if you identify as female, or if you are non-cisgender, gender fluid, in essence, if you're not a cishet white man, this applies to you. Also, spoiler alert, you can be a boy and run a feminist business. I know, your mind is blown, but it's true. It could happen. Here are 12 principles for prototyping a feminist business. Number 1, you have a body. What? Not you have the right body or an abled body or a male body. You have a body. Number two, you are connected with the earth, the plants, and all living beings. Number three, integrate. Number four, institutionalize empathy. Build frameworks that support feelings. Hold up. Build frameworks that support feelings. They are not in my business. They are not an aside or a waste of time. They are not something we do when we have time. We start every meeting. We end every meeting by connecting with our empathy. Embody your values. Hell yes. Reclaim happiness. Make new definitions of success. Consider everything an experiment. And I love the way that this speaks to the concern about strategic planning being set in stone or inflexible. Consider it all an experiment. Unless you're running an OR or unless you are a first responder, it's likely that your work is not fatal. Free yourself from the myth of meritocracy. I can't get behind this enough. You do not have to deserve time off. You don't have to deserve a living wage. You do not have to deserve happiness. It is yours inherently. Reject the myth of meritocracy. You get to have those things for showing up. Tell the truth. What? Tell the truth? That's a business principle? Cultivate abundance consciousness. And I love this. A business can be a healing for yourself and others. I want to take a minute to shout out Annalise Page Photography, who has been through the Unwhelm strategic planning process and come out the other side so brilliantly sure of what her business is about and why she does it. Annalise's business mission is Annalise Page Photography, showing you just how fucking beautiful you are. And one of her highest values is healing. And she embodies this value by offering as a service empowerment photography, where she allows women to feel free to express themselves in intimate or nude photography in a way that is not objectification, but instead is an entire healing process. It is magic. Her business is a healing for herself and others, full stop, every day. And finally, a business can be a model for a new social and economic order. And girls, I'm here for that. I mean, if you've been here for more than a hot minute around me, you know that I say the patriarchy hates it when we are isolated, when we are apathetic, when we are withdrawn, and that the biggest threat to the existing patriarchy, political, social, economic structure is women supporting women. And when we are collaborating and when we are working together and facing us against a foe or facing us toward a goal and toward a different society, that's when the patriarchy crumbles. That's when this economic model becomes obsolete. I would be happy to do some interpretive dance. And if I had pom-poms, I would absolutely be rattling them right now. If I had a megaphone, that's fine. I do have a microphone, but I mean, if there was a roof for me to get up and shout from, I would totally do that too. I want to draw attention to something that Lloyd dropped in chat. She said she feels the frustration of trying to fit into a masculine economy as a female leader. Just sit with that for a second. If you have been a female leader trying to fit yourself into a masculine economy, you know what that pain feels like. It feels like cutting off parts of yourself. It feels like denying pieces of your essence, not just your personality or your time or the way that you dress or talk. It is ignoring and rejecting pieces of who you are in order to succeed in a specific model and system. She talks about trying to fit into two worlds without screwing up both or requiring meds. Oh my God, word. My position is that if you have to reject pieces of yourself and worry about presenting one way and being another way, then there is no way for you to succeed in both, that you will be forever cutting off pieces of yourself. I want to draw attention to a principle called intersectionality. And because I'm talking to my people here, I think that probably I'm preaching to people who know what this is. But Intersectionality was a term that was coined by a woman named Kimberly Crenshaw. She offered an updated definition in light of the global pandemic. She says intersectionality is basically a lens, a prism for seeing the way in which various forms of inequality often operate together and exacerbate each other. So we tend to talk about race inequality as separate from inequality based on gender, class, sexuality, or immigrant status. What's often missing is how some people are subject to all of these, and the experience is not just the sum of its parts. So if you're a woman in business feeling this way, if you are a woman of color, if you are a non-cis het woman of color, if you are not traditionally able-bodied person who fits into that category, it isn't that you have sort of layers of additional struggle. Intersectionality was explained to me at one point as imagining that there's traffic traveling on a road, and if you're a white cishet man who's able-bodied, you've got a straight line. You're just going from one green light to another green light. If you experience any of those positions of marginality, you're on a crossroad and you drift into traffic because of perhaps one marginalization, and you get smashed into by a car that's traveling on a straight line. But it isn't just that you get a little crashed into, it's that crash pushes your car into the path of another challenge, and you get crashed there, which then pushes you into another crash. So intersectionality is compounded and exponential, not simply layered. So if you are experiencing as a woman who has any other piece of marginalization as part of your experience, then it could be helpful to understand the first process, the first step in unwhelming, which it is not your fault. You are operating in a system that was designed for you to fail, which means that if you are here and you have ever succeeded for a heartbeat in business, whether as a leader or an owner, you are killing it. So stretch your arms out for just a minute, rotate your shoulders, and then bring one shoulder up and hand over your back and just pat yourself on the back, because goddamn, the system did not want you to succeed, and here you are. I want to talk for a minute about what happens when we embrace the feminine and the feminist business model. And I want to bring into this discussion some research on early pandemic response. The research was around female leaders in a political arena, but I am going to tell you that this model of women in leadership is also true of business. Women in a leadership position tend to give greater or equal weight to other more planet, community, or women supportive values than does a masculine leader. The COVID-19 pandemic response research shows that women leaders pay attention to the gendered consequences of their policies and decisions, which means they are thinking about, how does my business / actions / strategic goals, how does that impact other women and communities? How does it impact the planet? How does it impact communities? In a crisis like COVID-19 pandemic, which has disproportionately impacted women in a negative way, in a crisis, gender considerations and equities are often among the first things to be jettisoned, especially in operational decisions, which is where you marry actions, everyday actions, to your strategic plan. Gender equal or female-led, female-dominated leadership often yields exceptionally positive outcomes. The Newsweek headline that I really loved was, "The coronavirus crisis is proving we need more women governors and mayors," because we had to have proof, right? We had to have some data behind needing this. It wasn't just because we're more than 50% of the population. It's because of the pandemic. Sorry, let me just take a breath. But for fuck's sake, are you kidding me? The author, a man, noted that women leaders who shine in a crisis, they come to the job with some really key similarities that often show up in business as well, and I would say maybe always. Women leaders come to the job more prepared because they face a tougher selection battle than do the men. That is true of elections, that is true of business leadership. The public routinely holds women to higher standards and greater scrutiny. So women who own or run or lead businesses, they face far greater scrutiny and criticism than men do. If you want a really, really fast example of this, look at how the media talks about women celebrities versus how they talk about male celebrities. Just saying. We just dial that shit back. Women bring a wider array of critical voices to the table, which means that they are not surrounded by people who will simply agree with their ideas, but they are open to a conversation that maybe does not agree with what they've brought to the table. They ensure that the perspectives of vulnerable populations are considered in public health and business actions and decisions. I'm going to say that again. They bring a wider array of critical voices to the table. They ensure that perspectives of vulnerable populations are considered in public health and business decisions. Women are routinely more acutely aware of the incredibly stressful balancing act of doing a high-pressure job while trying to care for family, finding safe childcare, and making sure her family's basic needs are met. And perhaps most importantly, these leaders serve as example and inspiration for other women to enter the business realm without fear of having to fracture themselves. I mean, come on. So as a woman in business, as a leader in business, I wholeheartedly embrace the feminist business model and a feminist economy model. I believe with all my heart that women supporting women is the way to be successful. And I believe that if you are a woman-owned business, rather than trying to fit into the model of the masculine economy, the way that you are going to have the most success is twofold. Redefine your measures of success and deny exactly 0 parts of who you are. In my business, I lead from the heart. Relationships are more important than profit. They are more important than operations. They are the most important thing. And so I have built in relationships into every step of my business. In my business, my values are empowerment, women supporting women, honesty, fun, collaboration. That is how I run my business. And that is why when my clients are succeeding, I am just wildly joyful. I believe that if you're running your business this way, you will also find the clients or customers with whom this resonates, and they will want to do business with you. And that, my friends, is how we simultaneously smash the patriarchy and win capitalism. Yes. Yes. So I have a couple of folks in the room that I'm not going to ask them to unmute unless they want to, but there are a couple of fantastic women in the room who have been through my strategic planning process. And I would love for them to just briefly, if you are comfortable and if you can, just maybe talk about either how it felt sort of before and after that strategic planning process, because feelings are where I'm at. And if you feel like you were able to take that strategic planning process and put it into action every day. While I'm letting them take a minute and be put on the spot, I just want to make a note that Loy also dropped another truth bomb in the chat. Love it. She says, because we have lived within chaos most of our lives, we are also more attuned to emotional intelligence because it's more in line with how we think. I also want to note that as a corollary, women are expected by society to be the feelers and to notice other people's feelings. So of course we're attuned to emotional intelligence. And then she says, we get punched in the face for that as a leader in the masculine model because being brutal is rewarded. Yeah, absolutely. It's a zero-sum game, and you can't win if other people don't lose.
Can I
Annalise.
tell you? Can I tell you?
Yeah, yeah,
Hi,
yeah, yeah.
Annalise here. Just real quick, this is what I'm working on.
Well, hold on. I'm just gonna put you up there. Oh, babies.
La chonk. Okay, so the best part about having a strategic session was that I kind of think nebulously and I think with feelings, and putting words to my feelings is not a strong suit of mine. However, it's a strong suit of Katie's. And I can just be like, Katie, I feel like this. Beep, 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 beep. And then she magically translates it into English. And had we not had that strategic session, it was hard sitting still, but I also just want to say thank you for giving me actual wiggle time built into that
Oh,
day.
yes. ADHD for
Um,
the win.
seriously, it was huge. Having a strategic session was really eye-opening because I didn't realize that I needed to get this shit done, you know? Like I'm like, oh, I'm a business owner. Oh, but other people can't read my mind. Inconvenient. So basically, the entire strategic session turned all of my nebulous thoughts and feelings into a cohesive like flow. And as much as I hate spreadsheets, I know that other people really get off on those. Yes, sickos. But I'm really grateful because you really quantified feelings for me and turned what you know about me and what you know my values are, which we talked about, into something that made it really professional for me. So I'm able to take all of the things that we did for our strategic planning session, turn them into captions on the gram, turn them into blog posts, turn them into FAQs, because we sat down and took the time to make English words for the beautiful feelings of my art. So oh, by the way, the lighting looks great on you right now.
Thanks so much.
Fabulous. But yeah, like had I not been able to sit down with you on that, I think I would still be like, I'm a business owner and like low key drowning. Thanks.
Thank you, Annalise. I want to just say, because I'm incredibly proud of you and of the work that we've done together, that in 2022, still in the middle of a pandemic, Annalise has had her highest grossing revenue months of her entire business. At the same time, she has been able to build experiences that are completely in line with her values. And she just landed a really beautiful year-long contract because a business owner sought her out to document visually the story of the people who are on the ground making this business work. And they want to focus on the female and human aspect. And they thought Annalise would be the perfect photographer to do that. And this is because
And they wouldn't have
Annalise,
seen that had
right?
you not made words in English. So strategic planning session is like a 100% ROI.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes. Thank you, Annalise. And thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty during that session. It was a lot of work. And I do know that in
Thanks, Catherine.
in another aspect of something that people were really frustrated about was this sort of limiting aspect of strategic planning. And I will say, yes, strategic planning can put limits on what you do. And if you're doing the process in a way that does not shut any doors, you have a way to capture all of those great ideas. Annalise calls it things for future Annalise. And in fact, in my paper planning for Annalise in my notebook, there's a whole page that just says future Annalise. So because she has that strategic plan in place, she can say, this is a fantastic opportunity. Does it align with where I want to be, how I want to get there? If the answer is no, it doesn't mean it's a terrible idea. It just means, number one, it's either not for you or it's not for you right now. And that may feel limiting, but what that does is that in the same way that structure and order frees my ADHD brain to be creative, Putting those limits frees you to focus on what your superpower does, and it pays off exponentially in your heart, your spirit, and your business bank account.
Yes. And I just also want to say it's not a limit, it's more like a conduit. So Katie took the misty, beautiful rainbow of my feelings and business ideas and honed it into a cutting laser rainbow. So it's not like I'm limited. I'm just now incredibly focused.
Yes.
Wouldn't have been able to be a laser without you, Katie.
Right on. Pew, pew, pew. I'm in. One of my affirmations, I'm turning my head to see it because it's written on, not on the wall, it's written on a board that's on the wall. I complete tasks that are part of my plan and feed my dream, and I gently release other activities into the universe. They're for other people. And if I'm doing them poorly or doing them in a way that drags my focus from something that is my superpower, it doesn't let other people have that space. And I can do that because I embrace collaboration and partnerships and interdependence. So what the hell do we do now? Well, lucky you, September is my birthday month. Whoop, whoop. Also, Annalise is also Catherine's. Can we get a what for the September babies and the Libras and the wannabe Libras? It's okay, I still love you. You may be thinking, oh my God, September. All I need to know is that Katie was born this month. That is true. You do need to know that. But also, it's Strategic Planning Month at Unwhelm Coaching. Whoop, whoop. We're going to be talking about strategic planning all month long. Oh my God, I am so excited about this. And I know you are too. Next week, we are going to do a slightly deeper dive into values. You may think, oh, I've always heard it mission, vision, values. Like you need to lead with the mission statement. My very strong belief and experience says to me that you must be able to articulate what your values are because you need to use those to determine your mission and your vision. We will then, of course, go on to mission and vision. We'll talk about how to craft those statements, how to really hone in on what is important to you, and how you align your personal vision, mission, values with your business vision, mission, values. We will also talk a little bit about goal setting, but because that is incredibly personal and individualized, I recommend that you work with somebody, I don't know, like Unwhelm Coaching, to work on that process. So next week, we're talking about values. The week after, we're talking about mission. Then we'll be talking about vision. And then it's October and time to talk about Halloween. Yay! So how can we move this forward? What can you do between now and the next time I open this fire hose? Number one, go buy this book. The link is in chat. I think I put it in chat. I don't know. Somebody else put it. Yes, it's there. Proposals for the Feminine Economy. Enroll in Feminist Business School. Read the books. This is where I'm coming from. It is great language. It is great framing. We will, by Tuesday next week, we will have the recording of this event on the website. We will also have links to these materials plus some downloadables that we'll talk to you about. We'll basically walk through this process if you'd rather just read it instead of watching or listening. You can get help from trusted advisors. If you trust me, I can advise you. You can call me a trusted advisor. I also have some other business partners like Elise Padilla, who is a strategic planning magician and loves it even more than I do. So we have a team to help you with your strategic planning. So stay tuned this month for strategic planning help for free. We will also offer a mini course on strategic planning, and moving forward, we will have additional mini courses. That's 2 hours. It's a small, shallow, medium dive workshop. It's limited to 6 people. You do a lot of peer conversations and coaching. It helps you jumpstart your process. We will offer workshops that are more extended with, again, a limited number of people so that you can really have good conversations. And then we, of course, always are open for strategic planning sessions where we at Unwhelm Coaching work directly with you one-on-one or two-on-one or with a group to really help you hone in that strategic plan. It's a 2-day process for you. It's about 30 hours more for us because we give you all of the pre-work and we give you a finished product, which is what you can use to populate your website and all of your marketing and your conversations from this point forward. It's noon at my house, which means our hour is up. Start on time, end on time, blah, blah, blah. Even though my son would remind me, time is just a construct. I want to thank all of you for joining me today. I absolutely love the Unwhelminars, if for no other reason than it gives me a chance to see some faces that I really love that I wouldn't otherwise get to see. I see them in text, but it's really lovely to be supported by this amazing herd of mama elephants and hype women, and it does my heart good every single week. It's great to share this with you, and you are welcome to join us any week, and you can see us at unwhelmcoaching.com. Thank you. Oh, hey, we're getting unwhelmed. And as always, you can catch all of our recordings on our website at unwhelmcoaching.com.